those people that seem like they really are on our side, and they are our people that look like us. How would you like to find out that we have been betrayed by our leaders? The people that we trust in, the people that we pay taxes to, the people that we've been told are supposed to lead us and guide us and protect us, that they have betrayed us. Yes, I mean a betrayal of Africa. This is one of the reasons why poverty exists in Africa. Hi, this is Janetta, and I have so many things to talk to you about Africa. How would you like to have found out that you were betrayed by your best friend or someone that you really had a lot of confidence in? Hang in here. We have a story of betrayal. Yes. But meanwhile, before we get started, I want you to know that I really appreciate you for subscribing and liking my videos, and also for sharing it. It's very, very important. But this video, let's get started, because we were talking about Muammar Gaddafi. Well, the story didn't end with my last video. This is the truth that lets you know about a real betrayal. So listen to this.
Muammar Gaddafi, the former Libyan leader, was one of Africa's rulers who left a very strong mark on the continent. He spent his life reinventing himself and is widely remembered for his push for the United States of Africa. Even after 40 years in power, Muammar Gaddafi had grand ambitions for his country and Africa. The story of his downfall is greatly centered around love, money, and betrayal.
How would you like to find out that we have been betrayed by our leaders? The people that we trust in, the people that we pay taxes to, the people that we've been told are supposed to lead us and guide us and protect us, that they have betrayed us. Yes, I mean a betrayal of Africa. This is one of the reasons why poverty exists in Africa. It's not only the white man's problem, but it's the African's problem as well. We played a part in it, and you're going to find out today how great of a role one of our leaders played in a betrayal. And he not only betrayed someone that had confidence in him, that person was his friend.
But the landmark he created is still one of the most remarkable in the 21st century. During his reign, Muammar Gaddafi showed much love towards a particular country, its people, and the president of this country. But at the end of it all, it was this same president, the same one he considered his friend, that betrayed him. So which country is this, and who is its leader? The country we are talking about here is Uganda, and the leader that betrayed Gaddafi was no other than the Ugandan leader who propagated his betrayal. In 2016, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda wrote a letter criticizing the United States and the African Union for their intervention in Libya and the wide Middle East region. He also stated that the US and the European Union had no business dislodging Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein of Iraq. But why did Museveni betray Gaddafi? Before we get in deep into why, let us see how they even got close to each other, how they became friends, and what really happened that Museveni had to betray his own friend. Gaddafi's relationship with Uganda didn't just start when Museveni came to power. Gaddafi had been a longtime friend of Uganda. His relationship with this country he loved so much started as far back as the 1970s during Idi Amin's regime. He provided so much support for this nation, moral, economic, and military support to Amin's government during this period. Each time Idi Amin's government was faced with an attack, there would always be one person who would come to his rescue, sending troops and military support. It was no other person but Gaddafi. But all his support and friendship ended in him being betrayed, as you will soon find out what happened. The attacks and resistance against Idi Amin, he fled the country in 1979 for Libya, where he later on moved and settled in Saudi Arabia. After Amin was overthrown in 1980, Uganda decided to organize an election to choose its next leader. The result did not favor Museveni, so he would do what any other power-hungry person would do. He claimed the elections were rigged and that it was unfair. This dragged Uganda into a civil war between Museveni and the other opposition. Museveni and his army ran short of weapons and ammunition during this war. He would need help from somewhere. He just had to win this war. He was too power-hungry. So what did he do? He had to look for help. He approached no other but the US and the UK for arms help. His request was turned down because of his closeness with Muammar Gaddafi.
Museveni needed help in a war situation and a power struggle on his behalf, and perhaps even maybe thinking a little bit about his country. He was turned down by the US and UK. He was turned down by the West. The very people he went to, they turned him down. But Gaddafi helped him. Listen to this.
He then went to Gaddafi, the closest friend of his country. Gaddafi never hesitated. Gaddafi gave him all the help he needed, gave him military supplies, and he emerged victorious. Gaddafi gave his support on several occasions, including the Ugandan Civil War of 1986, which Museveni still emerged victorious. After the defeat of Paul Kawanga Samodreer, Libya trained Museveni's military. In fact, Museveni even named his secret intelligence agency after its Libyan counterparts. That's how much love and support Gaddafi showed Museveni. Gaddafi visited Uganda frequently, which would make one think it was his second home. He invested a lot in Uganda and built so many infrastructures. Gaddafi, through the Libyan African portfolio, invested and bought 51% of shares in Uganda's telecommunications corporation, Uganda Telecom, and 60% shares of the textile company known as TriStar Limited. Gaddafi even convinced Museveni not to sell Uganda's unrefined oil to Europe and the West. He promised him he'd help him build a refinery and pipelines to Kenya and other neighboring countries. That wasn't all. Gaddafi also made thunderous investments in the finance and real estate sectors of Uganda's economy, which included the investment he made in the Tropical Bank of Africa, National Housing Corporation, Lake Victoria Hotel, and so many other companies. One other fact you have to note is that through Museveni, Gaddafi also funded the RPF rebels after they invaded Rwanda in 1980. The support he gave them included arms that were flown into Uganda by the Museveni regime. That is how deep their friendship was, which is what made the betrayal even more painful.
It's unbelievable, but it's believable. It is very much believable. With a leader that is so interested in his power and his control that he sacrificed his nation, that is done. It wasn't done by a white man. It was done by an African politician, leader, that people put their confidence in. Right now, Uganda is doing or trying to do some of the things that Gaddafi wanted him to do and tried to help him do years ago. Years ago. How far would Africa be? How far would Uganda be today if he would have supported his friend, if he had not betrayed his friend?
Muammar Gaddafi developed an interest in this kingdom, located within the borders of Uganda in 2001. At this time, its ruler, King Oyo Miemba, was just 9 years old. Because of his extreme love for this kingdom, Muammar Gaddafi financed the majority of the projects there, including the construction of the Toro Palace. Gaddafi left a lasting legacy in the Ugandan Muslim community. He contributed voluminously to the construction of the magnificent mosque there, which has a capacity of holding at least 3,000 faithful. This mosque is the second largest in Eastern Africa. Gaddafi even joked with Museveni, asking him to rule for life during his visits to Uganda. He went further, asking him why he even bothered going for elections. On one of his visits there, he promoted one of Museveni's sons in the military from captain to major. In the 2001 and 2006 presidential elections, Gaddafi supported Museveni to carry out his campaigns. Their relationship seemed so strong and unbreakable, but that was not the case till the end. What actually prompted Museveni to pull down Gaddafi? We shall examine this in two main parts, which are Western interests and Muammar Gaddafi's ambitions. As you might already know, Muammar Gaddafi is the highest person talked about each time the idea of a United States of Africa has been raised.
His ideas for African unity involve the creation of a United States of Africa.
Just like Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. Gaddafi poured a lot of effort into the quest for African unity. During a summit held in 1989, Gaddafi succeeded to convince 45 heads of state to approve the creation of an African Union, which replaced the Organization of African Union. For more than 10 years after this, Gaddafi stood as the most popular advocate for this union. Still, in 1989, he came up with the idea of the United States of Africa, which he envisaged will have a single currency and military. The African Union, according to him, was to be used as a facilitator for this dream of his. Roughly 15% of the money used to finance projects of the African Union came from Libya during Gaddafi's reign. This, however, was a scary idea to Western powers and some African leaders who thought this will distort their prestige, influence, and position in the continent. The idea brought division among African leaders on the matter. Surprisingly, Yoweri Museveni was also against this idea. Museveni was a man that Gaddafi had helped a lot in the past and even made him gain much power in Uganda. He had invested a lot in his country and backed him in times of need. Why did Museveni disagree with Gaddafi's idea of creating the United States of Africa? First, it was a threat to his grip on power in Uganda.
So I'm aware of Mr. Gaddafi's approaches and efforts to get a foothold in your part of Africa and I just like to intervene and caution.
He appreciated Gaddafi's take in a flattery manner, but did not actually fight for the course. He refused to be ruled by another leader. It will either be him or no one else. Secondly, Museveni's power was becoming much felt in the region, and in this position, he served the interest of the West through military actions in countries like Somalia. He also provided intellectual support to the CIA leaders.
Mr. President, I started fighting Gaddafi before you started. I started fighting Gaddafi before you started.
I hate to say this, but did you hear what that man said? His friend, he confessed that he was fighting his friend. He was a two-face. He was a turncoat. He's living right now in Uganda. He's still president of Uganda. Can you imagine that he's not the only one. He's not the only one, the reason for Africa's demise. We could keep looking that it's someone else, even with us in the United States of America. Some of the problems we have are getting to the top and fighting. That we have some people in our own midst that are working against us for their power, for their money, and not for our purpose. We have to become alert because, like Museveni stabbed Gaddafi in the back, we're being stabbed in the back, but patted to make sure that we think everything is all right. So if I was to say anything, if you ever saw a boot-licking, butt-kissing person that existed, I would say this is a good representation of it. A good representation of it. So down the stream without a paddle. We got to do something about this. We got to make our leaders accountable.
With this, he prioritized the interest of the West before those of his African compatriots. When this decision was finally tabled in an African Union meeting in Accra, Ghana in 2007, Museveni fiercely shot it down. He feared that supporting the idea of African unity will create problems between him and the Western powers. He was aware that these people kept him in power and could oust him from there at any moment. Museveni was also afraid that, upon betraying Gaddafi, he will face some difficulties in his military and financial whereabouts. He knew so well that resisting Gaddafi was far easier than resisting the West. The betrayal of Gaddafi was accelerated by Museveni's reactions. On June 13, 2008, During his son's graduation in the United States, Museveni expressed his consent to the Assistant Secretary General of State for African Affairs, Jende Fraser. He said he did not deem a united Africa necessary due to linguistic and cultural differences. He went further to say that Gaddafi bribed small African countries to support him and made it difficult for them to speak out during African Union and other international meetings. Museveni noted that tensions with Gaddafi, which kept growing, will result in an attack on his plane while flying over international space.
We were given in a platter, served. I mean, what more do we need to hear? These are things that are coming out and you need to hear them. These are things you need to find out about Africa, and stop having your opinion and listening to those news stations that don't give a fat rat about us as a people. That we have in our own camp those that are causing us the difficulty and the poverty that we're in right now. Young people with education walking around here with pineapples in their hand, selling bananas, and because of this man, and he's not a white man, he's a black man. He's an African. He's a president. He sold Africa out for a few dollars and favoritism from the United States of America and UK, the West, period. The West, period. We have to stop it. You young people, we cannot allow our leaders to do this to us anymore. Things have to change, but only you can change them. Old people like me are waiting to go to heaven, but you can change what's going on today and stop eating under the table or even serving the table, but not being able to sit at the table because you don't have enough money, because you're poor. You're the richest people in the world, but you're poor. You're poor. You've been sold out. Listen. Just listen.
He requested help from the United States of America, which he did receive. Gaddafi was not so worried about Museveni's relationship with America, but his popularity in Uganda. When Gaddafi paid a surprise visit to Uganda in 2008, Museveni's government saw it as a plotted attack on their president. During a 37-minute talk at an Arab youth event in Uganda, Gaddafi switched talk and said that he wanted now to work with traditional leaders and not elected presidents to achieve his plans for the United States of Africa. In 2009, he brought together some African traditional leaders to discuss the unity of the continent. When this came to Museveni's notice, he blocked Ugandan traditional rulers from attending the meeting. Museveni had convinced Gaddafi that the United States president at the time, George Bush, removed sanctions on Libya and will carry out investment in his country if he destroyed his weapons of mass destruction. After talks with some British diplomats, Gaddafi was told that Museveni had sold him alive.
Declare and then to begin to dismantle the nuclear program and the chemical weapons program. You said at the time that Libya expected some enormous benefit, a very real benefit. And many people in Libya say they're still waiting for that benefit. What is Libya waiting for? What do you expect from the West?
ما أعتقدش أن أمريكا won't believe America fulfilled its commitments and pledges vis-à-vis Libya regarding this point. We have been told that President Bush is a man that honors his own word, and so far we are not so sure of that.
What specifically are you waiting for the U.S. to do? What complaint do you have with President Bush?
This was Gaddafi's greatest mistake that led to his downfall. He did not own a strong nuclear weapon that could neutralize NATO forces. Museveni since then has been trying to step into Gaddafi's shoes to champion African unity in finance and security. He is strong in some areas, but he lacks the charisma and financial power to carry out this project. He might not be supported even if he achieves this. Even the West will not, because it is the same reason they fought Gaddafi. In 2021, during one of his speeches, Museveni mentioned that the plans of the Western powers were narrow ones, and surprisingly, these are the same people that he had sold Gaddafi to. The mosque, which was built in Uganda and named the Gaddafi Mosque, was renamed 2 years after his downfall to appease their government.
Now, close to 2 years after Gaddafi was killed, the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council has dropped the name to appease the current Libyan government.
The only thing Museveni could have done was not to blackmail Gaddafi, because he was the only African leader he feared most. It is certain that when Museveni's time to drop power will come, no one will be there to save him.
You hear that? When Museveni, I don't have a problem with his name, but the president of Uganda, when he wants help from the very people that he helped to destroy Gaddafi, when he wants help to do some of the things that he wants to do now, because he sees the vision of Gaddafi and he wants importance. He sees it, that those people that could help him, that he helped out, will not come to his rescue. And the other African leaders, they know about what he has done. And he does not have the respect or the confidence of those leaders right now. But where does that put us as African people? Where does that put Uganda? Where does that put East Africa? Where does that put us? A lot of times we want to know, why is there such corruption? Why are there so many problems? But the problems and corruption, the buck starts with the people in power. And those people in power have been supported by the West. So that's all I have to say about that today, but I want you to think about it. You need to stop not checking behind, and we need to stop not checking behind those people that we have made congressmen, mayors, senators, presidents that look like us, and say we trust them because they look like us. How have we been sold down the ocean or down the river? How have we as a people been sold down the river, not only in the United States, but in Jamaica? And look at Haiti. Come on, you answer me. You answer me. You give me the answer to that. It starts with us. It starts with us, and we need to do something about it. I don't know about you, but I am tired of eating below the table. I'm tired of serving the table, but having to take the scraps of the finish of what they did not eat and what they don't want. I think you young people are tired of that. I think you're tired of it. So we have to discuss things and get them done. But meanwhile, hey, this is Janetta, and Black Suit Radio comes on Saturdays. We come on Saturdays on Black Suit Radio, blacksuitradio.com, 8 o'clock, Costa Rica. But look at the schedule to see what time we're on in your part of the world. And we'd like for you to join us. We want to try to get this word out to let us know all over the world, you're not in this alone. We all are in a certain kind of situation. But thank you for those that have signed and said they want to be my Facebook friends, and those that have told me that they were subscribing to my channel, and just to support those that say that they like my video and want to share it. I am so thankful and so grateful, and follow us because we're getting ready to take a jungle tour. Not really, but we're getting ready to take a really great tour of Tanzania, and we're going to take you with us. So hey, follow us. We'll see you soon. Love you.